This is Kathy Chase. Yesterday when I was bringing the kids home from school, somebody attempted to dart at me and my kids on 72nd and Pioneers, turning in the left lane onto 72nd, when all my kids were in the car with me. That was the same place in which I was sure I saw George W. Bush turning in the same place into where the Conoco you stop is at. There's Candlewood and the Union Bank's there, and the bistro place. I'm sure the bistro place came along. The wine and bistro place came along probably because Jack Tripper. I'm sure. Anyways, everybody who hasn't seen the movie National Treasure, you should watch the movie. Look at all that money sitting under the president's heads, and don't tell me that they're not trying to do mafia techniques with my life because of all that money sitting under them. That is what's the truth. That's the truth. My foot, the internet. That's why they're trying to kill me and my kids off, because they're mafia. They're doing mafia stuff. There is a lot of money sitting there. You know how the freaking pacemaker came about? Al Gore and the ketchup thing? Heinz? He has his mansion. Rob was telling me a couple years ago, his mansion has a $22,000 electrical bill every month. $22,000 electrical bill every month. That's what I heard. That's the Heinz family and Al Gore, and I don't know why you're so greedy and why you think you gotta push me around, because, I'm tired of people attacking me and my children. You're a bunch of cowards. I've tried to be reasonable with you, but you don't want to be reasonable. You're sitting there holding money to try to hurt me with, and keeping me from getting lawyers, and you're trying to kill me outside of a courtroom, and on a different day, and then every day you wear a different colored tie. Anyways, a few people have darted at me. A few people darted at me yesterday while I was picking up my kids home from school after the messages I left online yesterday. It wasn't just the one occasion. It was somebody else in a truck had also done it. They are threatening my life, trying to use vehicles now. Then there's, as I said, I talked about liabilities, and I talked about all this stuff. I talked about, trying to work with people all this time. Then the government's my witness. They know I've been trying to work with people. And, these people have been doing, they change the colors of the ties on any given day because of how they're feeling. Shannon or Kim will go cry to the presidents or whatever. And, I'm so tired of this love triangle and this triangle crap, Back to the matter is, there's a lot of money sitting under the presidents. That's true. That part of the movie's true. The fact that they've tried to revoke my constitutional rights, but they can't do it. That movie was done in 2005 or somewhere around there, 2004, 2005. They had this is in the movies and in music that this was planned 20 years ago. I mean, if you go back far enough, you can find this stuff in the music and the movies. There's movies about greed and I don't know. I don't know why they're so greedy that they have to take their issues out on me with being greedy and my children. One of the drugs they prescribed Sean was Claritin for his asthma and allergies. Well, I think it's beyond asthma. Autumn's sick again today. She came back. She spent one night at Rob's house. What Amber doesn't understand is they've tried to initiate her to help kill the kids, but then they were going to plan on killing her too, because she's got all the RFID in her. Everybody's seen the Hope Williams name on the NHI, the Nebraska Heart Institute, which is also has the initials for Hawaii, and they've chipped her up during that surgery, and that's all been since this whole little color game started. This was only a couple years ago she had that surgery. Autumn's only 2 years old. The reason why they made this little game up is because they don't want to pay up money. They don't want to share money. That's why they did this, and that's why they create all the obstacles and everything else. And I guess personal feelings, which is stupid and immature and greedy, and you know, this is not my fault that, you know, this is the way they wanted to go about things when they could have prevented things years ago. They didn't want to prevent things. Obviously, if they wanted to prevent things, then they would have... I've been in the hospital how many times in the past 27 years? They could have made up something about my foot. They could have said, oh, well, you've got something in your body. And, well, you know, or they could have made up something and said, oh, well, you need to have foot surgery because you've got a lump on your foot or something, where your scar is. They could have made up something in that time. They could have done something else. They didn't do that. Booting up computers in my foot 27 years ago? I guess it was 27 years ago. It was right around 27 years ago, because I was 10 or 11 years old on 5511, and when that happened, and then I remember using Apple IIc computers at school, and that was before we had actual operating systems. Everything was done by commands on computers at that point still. Typing in commands run, and C prompt or A prompt, I don't remember them all. It was C prompt run lemonade stand, okay? And then, you know, here's another thing. Look at all these programs and their names. For example, you've got Sun Systems, Sun Microsystems or whatever. They run Java. Java is another name for coffee. So, you know, they treat me like I'm a computer, or they treat me like I'm, you know, an object versus a human being. And I guess it has to do with greed. I don't know. So, you know, and then there's monster.com. And yeah, they're monsters. And I look at all these scary movies that have been written, like Silence of the Lambs and The Hands That Rock the Cradle, My Babies, and I think, you know, this is really scary. This is really, really, really scary to be in this situation. And I've begged for government to help me here because I'm scared. And my kids are sick. I'm afraid for them to go into that South Haven home. It's 2 blocks from Clare Street, and the whole Clariton thing. Wheezy Jefferson, and the little Rudolph Air Games or whatever, whatever's happened in that house. Amber doesn't realize that this is Mafia techniques. I guess they wanted to do that way because there's Ma in the name too. And Amber doesn't realize if she actually completed killing one of her brothers or sisters, poisoning them because Shannon or Kim or Rob or somebody, Nick Hexum or somebody's initiating her to poison them, then they're going to turn around and kill her, because that's how they do things. That's how Mafia works. To get capped, to get hit, to, you know, all the Mafia terms for killing somebody, to cap someone or to take someone out. The other thing was, I was thinking about the flags flying half stat, and then the fact that they thought they were going to try to kill me during divorce proceedings. That's rather sick. And then I thought of the terms a sit-in or a stand-in, like a protest, or a sit-in is a sub, right? Their whole I'm nobody type game, I'm somebody to ignore, and they try to keep me from getting lawyers. Well, we know why they're trying to keep me from getting them lawyers. We know why they're trying to avoid courtrooms, because they're greedy, because they don't want me to get the money. So I don't know. I can't seem to get any lawyers. So I'm going to ask if I can get some corporate lawyers to help me, some corporation lawyers to help me here. because this is scary. I'm just trying to survive with my children, and I can't get this situation to stop. No matter what I say, they still have their dramas going on. They keep wanting to play this little drama game with their little social dramas and their social cliques and their love triangles that I shouldn't have to pay for their mistakes. Me and my children pay every single second of the day for these other people's mistakes. And they sit on this big mountain of money, living high off the hog. You know, I'm on High Street right now. My toes is what they're referring to when all the pig references, the piggy banks, and then, you know, the national treasure. And my foot, the reference would be, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And I can't seem to talk any sense into them. Try to keep things, get people to stop freaking out, because, you know, Panic's a bar here in town. It's a gay bar, and I guess that's the way they wanted to plan things, for people to stab at each other while they sit back on the money, holding all this money under them. As I said, this is Mafia. This is not, there is no political scenario. This is Mafia activity. They don't directly talk about me. They can't directly talk about me. They don't use my name. They can't directly use my name. But everybody in the country and worldwide knows this is going on. I don't know. I've tried to reason with them. I've tried to be negotiable, and I've tried to get them to stop attacking me and my children. Well, I'm just a mom and 3 children. How can I go up against presidents holding all my money, because that's what they're doing, and using it against me? Yeah, it's my money. It's my life suffered 27 years for it. And, you know, I just, you know, they're just so greedy. I don't understand such greed. And such an inability to be compassionate people who lack integrity and respect for other people and their families, and then to just keep coming at me and keep coming at me and keep coming at me. I don't know. I'm tired of these women. I'm tired of them being, you know, having all this favoritism going around with these stupid whores. My husband, his family, privilege, all over the place, all over these places that are on these places. Proof. There's proof out there in this community. There's so much proof, and there's so much proof in this town. It's all over the place. There's businesses every corner. There's a bank like on every corner. They're just keep putting up new banks on like every corner. They have nowhere to put all this money that keeps coming in, and it's coming in more than it ever did before. The fact that people know how the internet now came about, that's probably a huge, I bet there's been a lot of money coming in now, because they know the real story. So, they know where the ideas came from, and the names, and the network. My father worked for NETV, and, they're just greedy. So, I don't know. I wish I could get some help from corporate lawyers, worldwide corporate lawyers, to help me and my kids get out of this safely, because they don't value other people's lives. They think they can do whatever they want with people's lives, and that's not right. You know, I don't hurt people. I don't kill people. I don't premeditate hurting people. I don't put things in their bodies and then try to kill them for it. So, it's not my fault they wanted to sabotage me using a person's name on High Street. And there's songs about sabotage in my life 20 years ago. So as far as government's concerned, they know that this was written about 20 years ago in music, that they were planning on sabotaging me, because evidently they don't want to pay money and that sort of thing, I guess. Or it's personal. They don't like me. Well, you don't kill somebody because you don't like them. You know? That's pathetic. You don't kill people. You just don't kill people because you feel like it, you know? Because that's what they've tried doing. You know, my nightmare was, you know, to see what happened to me, find out what happened to me, and now I look at all my children. And there was nothing I could do to prevent it because it happened before I even knew about it. And they think they have the audacity to turn around and try to kill us? Well, my son is still sick. He's sick. I don't know how sick he is. I don't know what's in those blood tests that he had taken, if he's got cancer or not. Because I had talked about the black lung disease from coal miners, and then mesothelioma, things with the word ma in it. And then also the asbestos that was in schools, their whole little school thing. So, you know, yeah, asbestos was taken out of schools about 20 years ago here. And there's no asbestos in schools here. It was over 20 years ago. And as far as the whole backpack bomb, them wanting to make me like a terroristic backpack bomb and kill me with a pacemaker, Pound Junior High, you know, the number symbol pound, and all their little numbers and equations. Pound Junior High, when we were going there, kids would call in bomb threats to try not to go to school on that day. That's what happened when I went to Pound. It never happened at Southeast. It was just at Pound. And somebody did it the other day at Southeast, which made me think of this. I guess somebody who remembered that at Pound Junior High did the same thing to Southeast, had somebody do it. You don't do things like that. But, you know, it did remind me of that scenario growing up and attending Pound Junior High. And violence is never productive. It's not how you solve problems. And I'm not talking about math. When I talk about problem solving, I'm never referring to math. Okay? Square roots and to the power, or the third power, or the fourth power of, and the, you know, and so forth. I didn't want power. I don't want power. I want, if I have any power at all, the only power I want to, if I want to use it, is to get some help. And I obviously don't have that much power because I haven't had any help yet. So, you know, as I said, this whole world leader, there's music about me, them wanting me to make me some sort of world leader music 20 years ago. 1988, that was before I even met Rob, you know. And, you know, I'm not going to name bands, and I'm not going to name bands, but I'm just going to say that if you look for these things, they're in the music, and they knew they were always there. You know, this is not secret, you know. Everything I've talked about is not a secret because it's out there on the web already. And to Lincoln, Nebraska, a lot of this is old news. Because Lincoln, Nebraska, you know, the evidence is on all the businesses' names and everything else. I mean, Lincoln is one big huge chunk of evidence, even if you just drive around and look from intersection to intersection to shopping mall to shopping mall. It's just one big chunk of evidence. So, you know, I don't know. You know, I'm scared. I shouldn't have to deal with presidents using mafia techniques upon my life. And the government knows who's doing what. And they know that there's a lot of money involved. Whether it's credibility issues or... I don't think that's the thing. I think it's more along the line as the money. The money. The money. My daughter, after her little belly button got red, which I think they put more chips in her belly button, I'm sure, she started, instead of calling me mommy all the time, she started calling me money. Ever since she had those chips put in, her personality changed slightly. And she'd call me money. She calls me money. My name is now Money to my daughter, my little 2-year-old. And I keep correcting her, saying mommy, mommy, mommy. No, she calls me money. I can't get her to call me mommy. I'm like, well, I don't have any money. They're holding all my money because they're greedy. So, I don't know. And that goes for my fan mail. That's a federal offense. I know I have fan mail. Over the past 20 years, I have to have something. And I have not received a single piece of fan mail Somebody's got that in somewhere too. Somebody's got that in storage somewhere, or they've took that, and that's a federal offense. That's a federal crime. You can't steal other people's mail. So, as far as the federal government's concerned, I want my mail, and somebody's got it in a storage shed somewhere. I don't know where it's at, but I'd like to have that too. So, there's probably, you'd think after all these years, there's movies about it. So I know there's mail out there for me that people have probably wondered, why I've never responded to them or whatever, and I've never received any of it. So, they want to treat me like I'm a nobody because that's part of their game, and that's part of trying to keep me from having what's rightfully mine because of their greed and their lack of maturity. They have no maturity, and so they act like they're 2-year-olds, a lot of them. And what's the point of that, So yeah, I'm trying to get lawyers. I need a bunch. I need a lot of lawyers, obviously, because they want to play hardball or whatever. They want to be really, really. They want to play Mafia with my life. And so corporate lawyers or whoever I can get to help me, I would appreciate it, and my kids would appreciate it too, because we want to live our lives. And I don't think it's too much to ask the corporations, considering, I don't think they feel the same way. I'm not asking anything other than their help with getting my kids out alive. My problem is with the presidents, obviously, politicians. So, anyways, I'd appreciate any help I can get from government or lawyers. Me and my children are in an extreme amount of danger, and I need people to help me get that stopped and get us somewhere safe, or help us get safe, so I can continue to raise my children and try to restore their health and that sort of thing. So all I can do is keep trying, and hopefully, me and my kids will have a hero out there somewhere. Corporations, I don't care who. I don't care if it's a human rights movement. I don't care who, as long as me and my kids get some help here and not get entrapped by what they're doing. That would be great, We've been going through this for years, and it's just gotten worse. It's pretty bad when you have to lock everything up you own, and you have to carry your drinks with you everywhere. You have to be careful with your food. I've been living like that for years now, and I can't always protect my children because they're not always with me. When they're not with me, they're not safe. And so this is a lot of money. There's a lot of money that I don't have. If I had money, the only thing I would use it for is to protect myself from people who are off the deep end, are a little crazy. They're off their rocker, So I don't believe in playing immature little Mafia games. That's not me. That's not even in my character. I'm not even a person of revenge or anything like that. I just want to get safe. So, pretty simple. I'm a pretty simple person. I look back and then I see all this money, and it's pretty sad that they're using money that has came from my life to try to hurt me. That's very wrong. And we don't have to talk about morals or values that these people never ever encompassed to begin with, obviously.